Hey, everyone, and welcome back to another HubCast from Cyber Social Hub. I'm Kevin DeLong, founder of Cyber Social Hub, and I have some awesome guests here today. A lot of fun. I actually just got the privilege this year to meet them both, and I think if I recall, it was at Techno Security in June of last year. So I'll bring them on here in just a second, but I want to rattle a little bit. If you have not joined Cyber Social Hub as of yet, make sure you do so. It's cybersocialhub.com. Real easy to do. So what is it? What do we do there? It's just really a hangout to get information about anything with digital forensics, with digital investigation, cybersecurity. It's all right there. Oh, and Megan is chatting. Let me move this up just a little bit. And hey, see everybody at Techno for sure. Yeah, we're dragging Megan there too. So let me bring these guys on here, and I've done a new setup here, so I'm hoping not to completely screw this up. So here we go. There they all are. Hey, it's AB and Jared from ArcPoint Forensics. Welcome, guys.
Hey, Kevin. Thanks for having us.
Hey, man, thanks for coming on the show. It's I know it's a little bit nervous sometimes for a lot of people, and sometimes there may or may not be alcohol involved in some of the casts. I don't know. I can't confirm or deny it, but it's just kind of really just a casual, laid back, getting to know you guys a little bit, and kind of digging up maybe some deep, dark secrets that we can, use against you later. Ooh. You guys already have one against me. You witnessed it firsthand, unfortunately. So
it was a great introduction.
That's right. But it's always a good time. The community is fun, and I catch a big beat down about it, especially for those of you guys out there that are watching. It's a scooter incident essentially happened in Denver at a Denver Techno Security. It was ugly. It was bad. I shouldn't be at 50. I should not be getting on scooters and cruising around downtown Denver. It's just a bad thing.
At what time?
I don't remember. It was mid-noon maybe, or maybe the other noon, something like that. Yeah, it was bad. Like what's that?
Every time I've tried to use those, it's been really late at night and the batteries are all dead. So I've literally gone through like 10 of them across 3 different apps trying to find one that's got enough batteries to get me like just down the road. And by the time I end up going through all of them, it just would have been faster to get an Uber.
Yeah, it'd have been faster for me just to walk, really. So I feel you. I had wished that battery was dead in that stupid thing, because literally I walk out of the hotel, and because what had happened, a bunch of people had gone out for the evening. I got there, forgot my ID. It's like, yeah, I'm under 21. It's apparent in my face, right? The guy at the door wouldn't let me in, so I had to go walk all the way back to the hotel. And as I walk out of the hotel, I thought I saw one of these scooters there. I'm like, this seems like a really good idea, right? I mean, at the time,
brilliant.
Yeah, obviously it didn't go well. I made it about 2 blocks. It's funny because on Uber, they show you your path that you took on that thing. You can see it. I should get the screenshot, because you can see it going down the road, and all of a sudden it cuts off to the left and goes boom right to the sidewalk.
Yeah, we need a screenshot of that for sure.
Oh man, it was funny.
Yeah, put the map on a shirt.
Yeah, I kept it. It was. I should wear it to. Well, yeah, I'll wear it to a techno. That's funny. I'm just glad Jennifer from Techno didn't choke me for crashing things.
At least we know you're the scooter champ.
I wouldn't say champ, but I bounce. Apparently, this COVID weight has allowed me to be a little bit more rubbery, which is kind of a bonus, right? Because I bounced off the pavement opposed to anything else. Oh, goodness.
I give you credit for trying, because I would never get on one of those. I've done it once, never again. It was a terrifying experience.
Hey, we did talk prior to that, so thanks for telling me. Appreciate that. You gave me no advance warning that those things could be deadly.
I didn't know.
But so it was funny. After that event, I was standing out in front of the hotel. It was over. I was waiting for my Uber to take me back to the airport, and you guys both saw me. I had like bandages, all over my face and stuff from maybe that part that didn't bounce. And there was this little kid there with his family. I don't know. He was probably 8, 9 years old. And he's begging his mom. He goes, "Mom, we got to try these scooters." And the dad's standing there looking at him, looking back at the mom, trying to make the decision. And I couldn't help myself. I go, "Hey, just so you guys know," I said, you see this? That was from those. And they're like, "No." I looked at the little kid. I go, "Sorry, buddy. It's not happening." So,
I mean, they do go pretty fast. How fast do they go? Like 20, 25?
at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just an idiot apparently. So, and didn't do any research on them. I'm thinking little kid scooter because my kids got a little scooter like that, but it just goes pretty slow, man. That thing was like a rocket. Like, hang on, yeah, Megan.
Yeah. So when those things first came
Megan's
out,
comment, zoom, zoom.
Yeah. There's
when those
Megan.
things first came out, I read an article about the lifespan of those scooters, and it was like 30 days.
Really?
Because they end up in a lake, they end up just like smashed in half, or they just disappear, whatever. But yeah, it's about 30 days for the life cycle of one of those.
I don't doubt it. They have to have GPS built into them. There'd be people stealing them.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they make them heavy and just like super cheap materials, like robust as robust as they can make them. But
Yeah.
30 days. That was
I don't doubt
shocking.
it. They take a beating.
Yeah.
After I got on that thing, I was talking to some of the Denver police that were at the show, and they were saying, "Yeah, people die on these things every year. Every year they
believe
die."
it.
And I'm like, "What?" Like, I
That
didn't
could have been me.
die on it. Holy crap! Yeah, it was. Yeah. Anyway, it was horrible. So anyway, all right. Now that everyone knows about that incident, that's the really first time I've talked about it in depth. It's been hinted around in the past, so it is what it is. And Megan, yes, I know it's not a razor. That's just the way it is there. Oops, I forgot to lock this screen. I'm gonna mess this up. Stand by. There we go. I can move my pictures around. So I don't know. How long have you guys been around over there at ArcPoint Forensics now?
2 years. 2 years this
2
January.
years. All right.
Yeah, it felt good to hit that anniversary.
So you guys are what we consider the new kids on the block, right? Oh gosh, that's really a bad.
Yeah,
word.
or
I wouldn't
as the
say
industry
that.
calls it, noobs. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Jared could be in a boy band, I guess. We call new kids on the block, maybe. Yeah, but so tell us a little bit about ArcPoint Forensics. Well, Amy, let me start with you or Jared, whoever wants to kind of chime in on this. Is how did you guys get started, or what was your motivation behind ArcPoint Forensics?
Sure. Jared, do you want to take it?
Yeah, so the company came out of, so our experience is law enforcement intelligence work, largely in the digital forensics space, supporting law enforcement and military, kind of around the world. And we saw a need for really a way. So the big problem that we saw was there's too much data coming in. It's expanding every day. And I feel like I keep saying this over and over, but this is really like a pretty big problem. How do you process all this data? Like, how do you sort through it to find the intelligence and the information that you need? Or as a law enforcement investigator, how do you comb through all of this information if you're, just like if your full-time professional job is investigations and you're not a forensics professional? There's so much data to comb through, and there isn't a great way to for those frontline investigators to sort through it without being technically proficient on their own. So we decided to try to find solutions that we thought would basically enable these frontline investigators to get that 80% as fast as possible, like out on the edge and the front lines, in those remote areas where they're working, without having to send it back to a lab or wait for a forensic examiner to be on site to look at the data. The goal is hopefully to be able to process more data across the law enforcement military industry with without having to hire on more expensive technical professionals, and then also reduce the burden of those technical professionals. Like if you are an investigator and you need to just figure out like what's on this drives, what's on this media, you just kind of want a data dump because you know what you're looking for. It frees up those labs because they don't have to process that stuff. They can just rely on those people, those investigators, to get that processed, and it frees up those technical professionals to focus on things that take advantage of their technical expertise. So really, we were trying to figure out how do we scale basically processing all this forensics data, and we came up with some ideas, and we're taking a crack, and hopefully it helps some people out.
Yeah, and
Go ahead,
I
Amy.
feel like everybody in the industry always says like they want to get back to the greater good. But given both of our experience, we've seen the other side of humanity. We could not agree with that statement more, right? Like how do we give back to the community? How do we help more people, rather than just sitting down and examining case after case? Like that's great. That's something that people need to do, but we wanted to be able to give back at a larger scale. That's how we're doing that.
Yeah, and that's awesome because you see, especially with volumes of evidence now, and it's it's becoming complex. I know towards the end of my examination career, essentially, it was the volume of evidence was getting ridiculous, and the old school way that we did it was just look at as much as you could. There was no easier way to do it back then. I say like it was forever ago, literally, but it was
It feels like forever ago.
2012 or something like that. It seems like forever ago, I guess, at this point. But and I remember when I saw you guys for the first time at Techno in Myrtle Beach last year. Was the first time I saw. I'm kind of peeking around. Didn't want to interrupt you guys talking to potential clients and stuff, but I'm looking around. I'm like, man, that thing looks pretty sweet. I said, I gotta find out. So I waited till some downtime and checked it out. You guys really made the process easy, right? When you really talk about it, it's that volume of evidence, all the stuff you have to go through. And Jared, I think you had said that that 80%. Really, that 80% involves just doing this a few times with your product. Is that right?
Yeah, sometimes I forget how easy it is because I'll like need to wipe a drive, or like I've got an old drive and I forget what's on it, and I'm like I plug it in, I'm like, oh, I just hit go, and then wait for it to be done. So yeah, we tried to make it as intuitive as possible and easy to learn and hard to forget, because I mean, what happens for a lot of these frontline officers is, you get a week or two of forensics training, and then you've got driving school, and then you've got shooting school and tactics school, and then you've got all the paperwork you got to do, like to get ready for whatever your next, operation is. And then 3 months later, you get a device in, and you're like, all right, well, I guess I'll Google this. How do I, and it's one of those things where it's like it needs to be easy, it needs to be intuitive, and it needs to be hard to forget. So that's what we tried to go for.
Yeah, and
And being like in that seat ourselves, I think that that's another thing is like we've already gone through all of these problems ourselves, right down to
100%.
incorporating Google Translate into the whole process. Do you know how many times I've gone through a case and been like, let me copy and paste this into Google Translate to see if this is important. You don't have to do that anymore. So
yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I wish I would have had with me, because one of my deployments, I was the only person basically supporting this particular mission, and there were a lot of external customers that we were supporting as well. It's a very remote area, and like it's just me, and I'm basically trying to staff this 24/7 shop, and it's like I literally slept in a closet next to my desk, basically, and people would knock on the door at all hours of the night, and but yeah, so I absolutely wish I had something like this that I could just let run in the corner, in addition to, of course, my forensics machines. But just having that extra system that can automate the process and get me that information as fast as possible would have been a huge help.
Yeah. So I guess we keep talking about this mysterious thing, right? That a lot of people have no idea what we're talking about. And I didn't ask. Do you guys have one nearby? Oh,
yes.
Look at that.
Do I? Where's
Awesome.
the camera?
Backwards.
Yeah, so this is there's no shame in this plug right here.
That's what this is for, is the main goal is to, man, that thing looks nice. And has the exterior design changed at all over the last year?
Very little. So originally the screen was in the center. We moved it over because we had to make internally, we needed to make more room for the components and the microcontrollers and things like that. So the screen got shifted off to the side, but other than that, it's the same as the prototypes that we had.
Okay, Jared, I'm gonna put you up full screen real quick here. So Amy and I are gonna go hide here real quick, and that way people can see at least what this looks like a little bit better.
Yeah, so hopefully it comes in on the camera
screen.
here.
Oh yeah, it's coming in great.
Yeah, so we wanted to stay away from touch screens because I know when I was in the lab or when I was working overseas, you're always wearing gloves and they're never the right size. So you're always like holding the fingers back trying to get this touch screen to work. So we wanted something that was tactile that you could just click it and it would do what it's supposed to, and also provide feedback so that you knew what it was doing. So um, when you hit go, when it starts processing, it will actually like the keys change and gives you some kind of visual indicator as to what it's doing. And same with the screen there, obviously. But we wanted to keep it as simple as possible. Basically, on the front, you've got your input and your output. So you connect your drive. It tells you like, hey, I've detected a drive. And you plug in your destination. Shoot, might as well just go through with this, right?
Let's do it.
Plug in your destination. And so once it's detected both of the drives, it's got like, you don't have to do anything. If you just want to hit go at this point, it will give you a forensics copy, so EO1, and it will automatically do the exploitation processing. If there's registry files, it'll pull those out and it'll parse them and give you some of that information. Same with Outlook. If there's Outlook database files, it will extract those, give those to you, as well as parse those, so you don't have to then go and download other software to at least start looking through it. So yeah, all you do is hit go, and then you get your indicator. It's starting its acquisition, and obviously, like, you have a chance to cancel it here if for some reason you need to cancel it and start something else. And then once it's done, everything switches back to go, and then you can start the next process. So
Really, that
yeah,
is probably
really is.
the easiest thing I've ever seen. So, and I don't know if if there, I know there's a few people in here watching live. If you guys thumbs up it or whatever, and just kind of give your thoughts in it, because we really encourage. Hey, this is an interactive thing. If you guys got questions for Amy and Jared, ask any questions about the unit you see. Ask, because that's why we're here. I see the thumbs up are going. I don't know if you guys can see it on your screen or not, but over on my little screen, I see the thumbs flying there.
Oh, thanks.
So yeah, good deal. Oh, there's some more. So we got
Yeah.
somebody here.
Is there a cost point?
They're wanting to know already. Someone says, "Is there a cost point for it yet?" Now I'm going to jump in here and say, as a business owner myself, it's probably best to get a hold of them. I'm sure there's some things out there that are customized just for you. But I'll let you guys take it from there.
Yeah, we can definitely talk through cost points. We always try to tell people to reach out to our website, fill out a purchase order form, and we can talk through that stuff, because there's different discounts that apply to you based off of organizational needs, how many units you want, subscription options, stuff like that. So it's not a clear-cut answer. We try to help out. The whole reason why we wanted to build something that was cost effective to individuals' budgets is we know that everybody doesn't have a giant budget. So there are different options and flexibilities that we offer. So
awesome. Yeah.
definitely reach out.
So Brett in here, Schaefer's from DFIR training, Brett. So thanks for popping in. A few things better than awesomely new forensic tech. I would agree with that 100%. So yeah, so that's a plug for you guys to get over on his site too. So he's got a lot of great resources and stuff out there, especially any training stuff that you guys want to push out there. And I know he does. He's still doing reviews over there too, Brett. He probably is, to talk about all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, again, I saw the device and I'm thinking, man, if I was absolutely still doing cases, this would be in the lab. And there's a million use cases that I could think of for it, right? I mean, just alone the portability of it, number one, right? Because we would, I was originally, how I got into forensics, I don't know if you guys know this story or not, but how I originally got into forensics, I was the guy that could turn the computer on way back when, right? At that point, it was the big, beige box that was the size of an end table that you would see in your living room. And it was the old Digital Intelligence actually made it. And so I was the one that could turn it on. So they started sending me to all this training. But, I was attached to a drug unit originally. And because we were getting all the requests for phones and everything else at that point. So we were always on scene. And, a lot of this stuff, I didn't want to take everything. Didn't want to, take everything from the scene, because you go, I don't know if you guys have ever been in a drug house. I really hope not if you've not been in law enforcement. But hey,
I try to
everyone
stay
does
away
some
from those areas.
does some experimental stuff in college, so there's no judgment here. But um, they're just nasty, gross places. You don't want to take everything back to your lab. And man, with this tool, that would have made life so much easier to be able to pull stuff out of computer systems right there and then, thumb drives, whatever. Memory sticks was the big thing too. And you guys have all those capabilities, yeah?
Yeah.
So right now it's mostly like dead box forensics. We're not doing any live systems acquisitions. Eventually I would like to incorporate all that stuff and try to make it as much of a one-stop shop for that 80% as much as possible. But yeah, definitely. So we had somebody that they're the forensics expert for their I can't remember if it was a county or maybe it was statewide, because they had like 7 or 8 different like law enforcement offices that they supported. And he's like, so I've got basically my kit and I know how to use all my tools. And so how would I integrate this into my workflow? And this isn't necessarily designed to replace like forensic experts or even those, lab technicians or examiners. But it's designed to help the people that aren't that, process forensics, like lower that technical barrier to entry to working with digital information. And so for him, like going in, doing his collection, he's got his tools, he's got everything he's comfortable with. And I'm like, so when you go in and do this, like you're processing everything. And I would imagine, all of the officers that go in and do this raid with you are just kind of standing around waiting for you to get done processing all this information. He's like, yeah, that's right. And I was like, well, if they had these units, then they could be doing acquisitions with you. They could be reviewing results, being like, oh, this is of interest, this is not. So in that sense, it's a force multiplier, not just necessarily designed to replace that technical professional or the tools that he's using, but to enable those people around him who aren't, as technically proficient to process this information and, hopefully expand the capabilities of the existing workforce versus, basically bottlenecking that one person and waiting for that information to get sorted through by that one individual.
Yeah, I see it exactly just like that. I mean, as I don't know how experienced of an examiner, I've been there, done that, but if it could save my time, because I came from a fairly small agency, right, and then I was pimped out to every federal agency on the planet because they had the money, and they go, well, hey, you got to go help FBI with cases. So I was on an FBI task force. Oh, you're on a U.S. Marshal task force, and then the last one that I was on was the Secret Service task force. So I got moved all around, and my time was just insane. I think a good use, and correct me if I'm wrong, and just say, Kevin, that's not what this was designed for, but I can give, we could purchase your unit and give it to someone who really doesn't know a lot about forensics at all, or with anything, just some very basic from training, and say, hey, if you're on scene, I'm sorry, I can say this because I was a drug officer. They're not the brightest people with technology a lot of times, all right? Which just be honest. But, if I could give them that unit and go out and they can go just do what you did, a button, and say, hey, do this to everything that you get there. And now they can bring it back to the lab where we can take a deeper look at it.
Right.
Is
and
that pretty spot on?
Yeah, that's pretty spot on. If you do need a deeper dive later, like you have that EO1, you have the registry files already exported, you have the PST, OST database files exported. So like, so we spend a lot of time deployed in some of these like austere environments. And if you're out there with a very limited connection, for example, and you do need to send like registry files back or whatever, before what people would do is they'd have to give it to somebody, then they'd get on a helicopter and they'd fly back to the main base, and they'd meet up with us and they'd drop everything off to us. And then, we'd get to it as it, came through the queue. But with this, if they just have to email a few registry files, that's totally doable. Or put it into, one of these network drop boxes. Because, those do obviously exist, especially out in some of those remote areas. But to transfer a terabyte, image, it's not going to happen. So it does give you some of those options. And I was listening to a podcast with Mike Glover. He was Special Forces at the time when they first went into Afghanistan. And he was on a team that went up into the mountains. And I can't remember exactly where, but they were out there for like 9 to 12 months. Up in these mountains. The only way to get there was via helicopter. and it was, sketchy as to whether or not they could even fly in just because of the terrain, the weather, and all that stuff. So it could be days before they could get anything in or out. And they eventually had their own goats that they were using for milk. They had chickens. I think chickens that they said they were raising, they were bartering with the locals. Like they had this whole, kind of ecosystem that they built that was very much dependent on the local environment. But I'll tell you what they didn't have was a forensic examiner on site to look at, hard drives from sources or thumb drives that people would, maybe pass off to them. If there's like a hostage situation and, they've got a source that they're working, may give them a thumb drive or hard drive. Like there's nobody that can actually go through and recover deleted files. Like they do have technical people there, but they're like comms guys or people that, have a wide range of responsibilities from a technical perspective. And, going through and remembering how to do data recovery or carving a drive is likely not something that they're going to be able to do, nor are they going to be able to look it up. But if they had something like this out there, like up in the mountains with them, then they could be processing this data.
Heck yeah. And I know you kind of showed the, hold on, I want to pop this up from Justin here. And yeah, very cool. Yep. Good call.
Yes. Oh man, the touchscreen just like, whew.
Yeah.
So many people love the buttons.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm not sure the tech behind it, but I use a because I'm a video guy. Obviously, that's why I'm switching a lot of these things you guys are seeing here. I use a Stream Deck. It reminds me a lot of the ease of a Stream Deck. Just literally push the button and it does it. Now, I know you had showed just kind of the, hey, collect everything and go. But if there was something, say the guys in the field knew and say, because, a lot of times, especially what you did, Jared, sometimes maybe you didn't have enough time to collect something right on scene because you got to get out of there, before something happens, is that, if they knew specifically, once you train them at a certain level of, hey, this is what you need to be looking for, can they collect individual pieces out of the evidence as well?
So there are aspects that you can limit what it will pull out. So there's a couple options there. You can do like a reports only function. So if you plug a drive in, you can say reports only, and then it will basically give you like a really quick information dump of everything that's on there. So the full file system listing, it'll go through and parse out the registry to the extent that we're doing that now. Same thing with Outlook. And so within a couple minutes, you can start going through that and you can see all the files that are in there. So if you want to go through and look through, the person's download folder or desktop or whatever, you have that, and then you can decide pretty quickly if this is something that you are interested in or not. Usually though, in those situations, if you're on site somewhere and if you're just like, and you need to get off as quickly as possible, you're usually just going to take it with you and then process it back in the lab, which is probably the most likely scenario for, how that kind of integrates into the workflow. Mm-hmm. But it is definitely there if you just want to get a quick listing of like the files that are on there, especially on the deleted side, registry stuff. If it's a Linux operating system, it'll pull out it's like kern.log, auth.log, and then shadow and etc and like a couple other Linux files, and then you can get a quick snapshot of what's there. So ideal scenario for that would be, if you have all the stuff comes in, you're like, I need to get a PowerPoint to my commander or to my boss basically immediately, so they know it's there, so they can report it up the chain, because everybody wants to know what's on this media. And you could do that, and then you immediately, like within a few minutes, know like these are all the files that's on there, and you can generate that. And then of course continue processing, like do the acquisition, do the extraction, the exploitation to pass that off to the analysts.
Sure. I got a question that popped in here from Tom. I'll pop it up here on the screen for you guys to take a look at.
Will it connect to a laptop and function as a write block pass through?
So I'm
no.
Guessing, does it?
Yeah. So right now, like if you plug it into a laptop, it's not doing any live acquisition of a laptop, and it's not a live boot capable system yet. Eventually, we would like to add that so that you could plug it into a system and boot to a Linux environment and do an acquisition of a laptop where you can't remove the drive. But no, the short answer to that is it's not a write block pass through for connecting it to a laptop. Now, the input is maintains a read-only standard. It doesn't auto mount anything. So if you connect a drive to the source port, nothing is going to get adjusted or changed there. And Amy, if you want to talk a little bit about the certification that we went through to verify that.
Yeah, so we went through the Nist certification process, the computer forensic tool testing platform that they have in conjunction with DHS. So we are certified in digital forensic acquisition process and digital forensics media preparation is the other one. We're going through the analysis side now, but we wanted to finalize some of the reporting that we still had to tweak a little bit, a few things before we submitted that, because we want to make sure that it was just right before we submitted it. So we're excited about that. And then we also are going to be kicking off the CIS certification as well, because we know that that's important for a lot of our customers to just have.
Yep.
Very cool. Jared, I know you saw what I did to you, your screen there.
Yeah, I'm moving around
as Amy was talking, because Sam,
well,
the world map on the display was different. It was backwards, and he says it's messing with my dyslexia. So I found your camera, and I just did a mirror on it. There, it's all better.
All right.
He's happy.
There
now.
we go.
Yeah, because
just scoot my chair over a little bit more.
Yeah, then he just says yay. So now that it's fixed, so all's good at that point. So much fun.
Yeah. But yeah, so the input for the device is read-only software write blocked effectively, and doesn't alter data on the source.
Okay, so it's I guess for clarification purposes, you said it's software write block and not, or is our hardware built? Okay, very cool.
It's not hardware, not yet.
Not hardware.
Eventually, maybe like Mark II, Mark III, we'll have some kind of hardware write block capability built in there. But of course, you can use a hardware write block if you'd like to.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest thing to do, is just it sounds like an upsell to me. Hey, you can buy this too. But
hold on, let me get my pen.
There you go. Because I remember when I originally saw it, a lot of the challenges was I used to have to our adult probation parole folks would also try to set time with me. It's like, hey, we're going to go visit this offender. He's not supposed to have anything on his system. We can search it at any time. Can you go with us and collect it? Because we have no clue what we're doing here. And I'm going like, oh, I just cringed when those scenarios come up. So they go and do what's called a knock and talk, right? Where offender doesn't know they're showing up, knock on the door, and they come in and say, hey, we're going to collect all your stuff right here, right now, and do it. And again, time free ups are awesome. Even to probation parole authorities, just the ability to go in and hook the device up and just sit there and do an interview while it's imaging or whatever, so they don't have to take the stuff out. I mean, that's a lifesaver. That really is in time alone. I mean, and that's my pitch to chiefs and decision makers, right, on up, is that just the time saver alone is huge. It really is.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that was a value that we wanted to add back to people. It's like, not just empowering your labs, but empowering those investigators who are going straight to those premises to do the collection and the analysis. So in those situations where, you're dealing with a repeated offender and maybe someone who's doing, some type of CSAM type of activity, they'll be able to plug in thumb drive in the back and upload their hash sets right there. So that way you can go through and filter through by hash even to make sure that there's no existing files or, new files that are currently out there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, Amy, I didn't ask you. Now, Jared, I knew a little bit about, because he was obviously at our conference last year in December, or last month at this point, last year, whatever. But how in the world did you get involved with this scenario? How did you come about being part of ArcPoint?
Oh, I was going to say, which scenario exactly? Digital forensics.
I'll clarify a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like starting out in the industry, I kind of felt like I tripped and fell into it. So I started out actually going after a criminal justice degree. My purpose was to go to college, get criminal justice, and become a police officer. and actually ran into the advisory board member for the cybersecurity program, and we got talking a little bit randomly on campus about something, and he looked at me and said, "You are going to be a police officer?" And I said, "Yeah." He's like,
That's right.
"Okay." I don't want to burst your bubble, but I don't know if that's the best career path for you. But you can do whatever. But given like what we had just talked about, just give cybersecurity a chance. Just go to a couple classes, see what happens. And I fell in love with the industry immediately. Went through my first job was out of a nonprofit organization is where I did an internship called NCFTA out of Pittsburgh. I was doing a lot of electronic fraud investigations there. Moved my way over to Washington, D.C., where I feel like a lot of people start their careers, and jumped right into the defense contracting environment. I was with the National Science Foundation right out of the start. I was doing cybersecurity accreditation and assessments on their systems and doing incident response there. And then I moved over to the FBI SOC. From there, I found my way at the National Media Exploitation Center, and that's where I met Jared. And while I was there, I was supporting a lot of cool missions and customers. And as soon as you start at NMAC, there's this transition that happens where you just become so involved in the mission set. It's so addicting because you can see the impacts you're making immediately with some of the analysis you're doing. And then you also can see some of the stuff that you're doing translate into the news. So that was pretty cool to be a part of that whole entire environment. But there comes a natural transition point for me where I moved into management. So I became a team lead and then eventually took over the contracting program. And I still wanted to be able to support that customer set somehow, some way. And Jared had a lot of frustrating points while he was deployed. And when he came back, we just kind of put our heads together and figured out how can we do this in a better way, right? There's got to be a better way. There's got to be a more automated solution. There has to be something that makes it easier for these investigators to be able to support these mission sets and get back to their communities without actually having somebody who has a technical certification and degree there doing it. Like Jared said, we're not trying to replace digital forensic analysts. That's not our goal. But we definitely want to be able to empower those investigators somehow, some way.
It's awesome. So you're not trying to be the McDonald's kiosk, right? Is basically it, right? Okay. It's really a bad example, but I tried to make a funny and it failed. Because Ron was in here. I don't know if you saw this because you were talking. He's gave you a little woot out there for some of the organizational stuff there.
The kiosk idea is interesting.
No, we're not doing it.
Only if I can order a Big Mac. If you guys put a special button in there, Big Mac. That'd be trouble, really.
It might be cold by the time it's delivered, but we'll give it a go.
So, Jared, and I kind of left you out your history in here because I already knew it and I was being selfish, and everyone else doesn't. That's watching right now. How did you come up to point? Now we know now at what point you and Amy met and came up with the brainchild, but tell us a little bit about your history and how you got to this point.
So I started out doing network analysis. I was up at NSA, came on as a network analyst. So looking at traffic from around the world and writing snort signatures and looking for basically unidentified or unknown like traffic that just looked weird or suspicious, and did a little bit of APT hunting there, which was cool, and then transitioned to operations. I always want to do operations. I love being outside and actively doing stuff, so sitting behind a desk was really tough for me. So I did a couple of deployments for them, transitioned over to a physical operations group, supported them for a few years, and shortly in the offensive cyberspace arena, which was awesome. I absolutely loved it. And then decided to move on to something else after a little while, get some other experiences. And that's how I ended up at NMEC doing forensics, because it's kind of almost the other side of the offensive coin is, the forensics piece, although it does definitely tie into to cyber operations, like kind of doing a forensic audit of the machine that you're looking at, or thinking about, compromising, doing something too. But so switched over to National Media Exploitation Center, where I was doing forensics, and I wanted to do more operational stuff. So I was fortunate enough to get on a team that did that and supported military overseas. So pretty much my first year, I jumped on another deployment to the Middle East. I think that was back to Afghanistan, and then almost every year I had a chance to jump on another deployment, and I love that. I love that mission. I love the people that I got to work with. Supporting in a technical capacity, especially at some of the levels that the other guys were operating at overseas. It's just really cool to see and really cool to be a part of that. So, but as I was out there, of course, that is kind of how some of the needs we saw arose, and kind of like how it got started. So I think I came back from my last one 2019, beginning of 2019, and started thinking about what solutions can I possibly bring to bear that would solve the needs that I had when I was out there, and hopefully the needs of a lot of other people.
Heck yeah. I mean, really, it is. And the biggest thing, and let me find if you guys get this too, is, I see the forensic examiners in the lab a lot of time as the gatekeeper, essentially, right? You got to talk them into this before you can get the product in, is because, they got this thing, what we call in my industry called the curse of knowledge, right? They understand how it all works, how the workflows go, how pulling data and stuff. But, if you can get them to see the value of putting a device that is really, really good at what it does, and it's forensically sound in the hands of people that really may not know what they're doing too much, because there's that balance of, okay, this is scary, I'm giving you a new tool, don't break it. Especially when anything forensic, you're like, this belongs to the lab, be nice. Because people will just break stuff, and you probably saw it in both of your industries. It happens, and it's really just education, right? To the forensic examiners, like, hey, look at everything that this can pull. Now there is obviously a chain of custody issues with a lot of things, and again, I tend to yap about the law enforcement thing because that's just my background. But when it comes to it, it makes their life so much easier, and getting that communication through is. Have you guys found that challenging at all?
Yeah. So to speak to just the gatekeeping comment, I think this happens naturally, and people don't do it on purpose, right? Like they just get so used to their workflow and what they're doing, and they have a special niche and technique that they're doing to get this data back to their customers, and they want to do their jobs, that I don't think a lot of us realize as digital forensic analysts what we're doing sometimes. And the only way to give back is to kind of like help other people around you, right? So we have taken a lot of people who are traditional operators and teach them digital forensics so that they can do their job and try to eliminate the whole gatekeeping concept. The other thing too with releasing this tool is what we knew, right? We're not going into this naive, is early adopter syndrome, right? There's a lot of people who are used to the tools that they're using. They like the tools they're doing. They're doing stuff a certain way. It's hard to break out of a habit and start using something new. And sometimes using something new can be scary, right? Because they know like their methods and their tools have been tried and true and stuff like that. Well, and that's why we've done so much homework in trying to get this certified in certain areas to kind of give back that level of comfort to digital forensic analysts. But yeah, I think that a lot of people, when we first initially introduced this, thought that we were trying to replace digital forensic analysts, and that's not what we're trying to do. We're actually trying to make your life easier, right? Like, let's filter through some of this stuff where you don't need to actually focus so that you can get to the interesting casework and really dial down into the actual key pieces of evidence rather than all the other data points that are just taking up some of your time.
That's
yeah. It
perfect.
is totally designed to free up the time for even those technical professionals. And we kicked this thing off a little while ago, and now it's done its acquisition. It's exploited a lot of that data, all while we were doing the HubCast, and I didn't have to do anything with it. I didn't have to load up software. I didn't have to like manually go through it. It just ran through the whole process. And so now I could literally just give this to whoever my customer would be like, all right, here's your information. So it definitely frees you up to do other things.
That's awesome. So it's already done, completely complete. And
Yep.
we've had a few people pop into the Hubcast. I'm trying to monitor all this stuff. I should have never mentioned the Big Mac button, because I don't know if you guys can see the YouTube chat that's happening on your screens.
It's all about food.
Yeah, it's all it is, really. They went off on a big tangent, and then Sam is, making sure that he's cracking his own NSA jokes in there. Great.
Oh, I love it.
But so I'm trying to get distracted by the crazy. I'm pushing chat off to the side. I'm like, man, they're off on a food tangent, and I'm hungry as get
I
out.
know. I'm
So
hungry too. Stop it.
push
Also,
it.
I feel like I found my people, right? Like I'm like, I love all of these things that they're listing off. These are all of the snacks I want.
Yeah, I mean, can you guys see YouTube chat from your views? Is it
Yeah.
showing?
I can probably
Yep.
expand it.
I have no idea. Because you guys, the guest view, obviously you saw my view yesterday, which is just like a million control panels at one shot. But these things just keep popping in here. And
Mm.
Megan says, and that's a good name for really an episode here. It's just DFIR coffee and pastry party. Is that you trademarked that suddenly? How do you can't put a trademark after there? You got to actually apply for that nonsense. So yeah. Hang on. It's actually okay. Hey, hang on. So Sam actually has a legit question. It's not. It's not a food question. Do you guys have an estimate on how much data from a hard drive is actually useful? Man, that's a rough one, Sam. You don't ask easy questions, my friend. It really,
That's
it just depends on my case, really. I would say.
It's a good question. So I do remember, so back when we were doing operational stuff, because there were situations where you'd be somewhere in a compromised situation potentially, and you'd have your surveillance team that was following your subject, and they'd be at dinner or whatever. They'd come out of dinner, and you didn't necessarily know the full scope of what they were going to do, and so your team's watching them, and you've got other people that you're doing the acquisition, back wherever the acquisition would be happening. And he takes a left down a road back towards your direction versus the right where you were expecting him to go. And suddenly the team radios back and is like, hey, he might be on his way back to your location. It's time to pull the plug. So your acquisition, might be halfway done or whatever. And I do remember from that time frame that it seemed like most of the useful data was on the first 10% of the drive. So if you got past that 10% mark, then a lot of times it seemed like you would get something that you could use. Of course, that may have changed some in like how, especially Windows, stores drives, especially with SSDs and stuff like that. But that's a good question to like revisit, because it used to be, I believe, probably about the first roughly 10-15% of the drive, and you had a lot of the data. But that may have changed with modern operating systems. So yeah, I'll actually have to look into that. It's a really good question.
Caused a stumper there, Sam.
Yeah.
Appreciate the question, though. That's pretty awesome.
I don't have a pen.
Tom needs some clarifications on some stuff. It's not just for the external stuff, right? You can pop off or pop out an internal drive of any system and hook it up, right, and hit go.
Yes. It's traditionally used for dead box forensics. So for everybody in the industry that's following that. And it's not targeting specific file paths of the operating system. It's doing a full acquisition and a full exploitation of it. So you're going through, and depending on the selections you make on the actual keypad itself, that's what it's doing. So we do have a patent pending for our parallel processing technique that we're using, which is acquiring and exploiting the data at the same time to give you those real-time results. There is an option that we're proofing right now, proof of concept, so that you can see those results in real time. But it's essentially at 10% acquisition complete, it kicks off and it starts exploiting that data. So it's not specific for certain file types. I hope
Very
that
good.
answers that question.
Yeah, anything that you can connect via USB, it will process. Other than like, a live system, you can't plug it into a running laptop and try to do an acquisition that way. But what you can do is, if you do have a live system and you're trying to do an acquisition of that, at that point, I'm assuming you have a little bit of a higher technical proficiency. You can use another tool to get that image. And then if you leave that on, you can put that on a drive, plug that into Atrio, and there's a button to, it's EO1 as source basically. And it will look on that source drive for that pre-collected image and then process it. And you can do that with a whole bunch of images. So what used to happen to me all the time is there would be, people from like the EAC or foreign partners that would come over with acquisitions they've done and give me a drive full of acquisitions. If I had Atrio, what you could do with that drive is you plug it in, select your basically exploitation features, hit go, and then it will just process through every single one of those pre-collected images. So if you do need to do a live acquisition, you can use another tool to do that acquisition, and then you can process it on Atrio if you need to.
Nice, man. That was phenomenal questions. I'm sorry. I'm trying to listen to what you're saying, Jared, and keep up with the, I don't know if you guys can see YouTube, but it's nonstop. So I'm trying to see, okay, what questions did I pop up on screen or not? I had to jump back up because I missed Tegan's here. And he had jumped in late, and he wants to know what format the data output is in.
So because this tool is geared towards more individuals that are not as proficient in digital forensic software suites, what we wanted to do is the output is actually pushed to the destination drive. So you have two folders. You have a collection folder and you have an acquisition folder. So you have your full acquisition obviously sitting in the acquisition folder. And then the collection will actually break it out into a Windows file format similar to Windows file format display. While it's triaging all the data, it's putting it into the individual categories so you can go through it. I don't know if Jared covered this either. I saw another question about like how to target specific files or the forensically relevant data, like getting lost in all of the mess that's already on there. You can actually go through, and we have an ignore button on there, which will ignore certain file types if you know that that's something relevant to your case, to kind of like, dumb down the noise a little bit so you can get right to the facts.
Okay. And I'm not sure, Tegan, if you need any clarification on that, are you talking about, the overall just individual formats, or like the overall, hey, this is what it outputs in, so you can take that image file somewhere else? If you can, clarify a little bit into chat.
Yeah, Kevin, I can do a screen share real quick.
Do it.
And just give like a little sample.
Do it. You're on OBS, right? You're
I'm on OBS
fancy like us here. Okay.
Yeah, but
great.
I'm doing the screenshot through the web software here. So I don't know if am I up? Am I screen shared?
Nope.
I selected the tab.
It should use, if you're plugged into our software with OBS, it should be able to use OBS just fine. Sorry, we're talking.
So Tegan didn't clarify. So as of right now, the reporting feature that we're using for this, we do have HTML reporting that's in there, but all the files are saved off. So you have your report, you have like the Windows Explorer version of the results as well, and the whole acquisition file.
Okay, and the acquisition file, say we're doing a what we used to call, I'm old, so I'm going to call it the bit per bit copy, is like an E01 at this point, right?
Yep. Yeah. So the HTML reporting that we're working on, right now it's in a very raw state. So we're trying to refine that a little bit and get it to I don't know how else to say it, a sexier state, right? Something that looks beautiful. And we're also trying to incorporate it into some, trend and link analysis into that reporting feature as well.
Okay. Great. Sorry, I'm trying to hit all these, man. I don't know if you guys can see this. It's just going like crazy here. Do you guys cover all the main operating systems? Or what do you cover currently?
Jared, do you want to go for that?
Yeah, jump on that. So we're definitely expanding other operating systems other than Windows. So right now it will look at Mac OS, and pull out some files there. That one we are putting more development into. That needs a little bit of work, but it will pull out. There's about a dozen or so kind of main files that'll pull out. It also works with Linux. So with Linux, we're pulling out shadow file, password file. Let's see, kern.log, auth.log, bash history, ZSH history for all the different users. Let's see, some of the timestamp information, system information. I can't remember the whole list. It should be posted on the website for the full listing. But yeah, so it will look for Linux specific files in a partition, and if it finds those, then it will pull those out and give those to you in a folder. Like, so the output we wanted to keep as non-proprietary as possible, because for example, if you're in a remote area and bandwidth is really limited, then even going to download software to start looking through, even just going to download software can be a bridge too far. Even from a work, just like a workflow perspective, having to go and download software, figure out how to do that, and then figure out how to use that software. We wanted to keep it as non-proprietary as possible. So right now the output is organized, basically an organized, easy to consume data dump with some structured reporting thrown in there via text files, HTML, CSV, or soon to be CSV. And then of course we'll be expanding on that as we have the resources to do so. But we wanted to keep it as non-proprietary and easy for somebody to parse and go through as possible.
Yeah, very good. And I'm gonna
is my screen sharing up yet?
No, it's not.
It's not going to work. Okay.
No, well, I don't know if it's going to work or not. No, I think because your main video is pumped in through OBS. If you like throw your screen share into OBS, it should work, and I can pop your screen up full here. But as I do that, Justin's asking a question. Now, I'm going to preface this because I looked further down the chat, and he says this obviously was not your tool. It was a different tool, a hardware tool that he had heard this happen. But it was a painful story that he heard where a cop plugged in like source and destination backwards, right? Cops are that way sometimes. I say that because, man, I have made the biggest mistakes ever.
It's never a good day when that happens.
Well, and it's not, doesn't even have to be like lack of training. It could be, so like when I was deployed, for example, in the last country I was in, and I was staffing that basically 24/7 shop by myself for months on end, you'd get a whole bunch of data in, you'd be up for 24 hours, you'd get 2 hours of sleep, you'd get up to go and process, like kick the next thing off, and then you go back to sleep for another 4 hours, somebody knocks at your door, you get up and you're like, oh, I need to kick off this next thing. And you're just so sleep deprived, you just plug things in wrong or, hit the wrong button or whatever. So it is definitely something that we're trying to address. I think probably in later versions, we'll have like just big glowing light bars and things like that. That's like source destination, like to make it as user-friendly as possible.
I have a great idea. You should light up on the screen, hey, insert the source into the source port. And if they fail, they put it in the wrong port, it issues an electric shock back to them. That way they're wrong.
I can't imagine that would be a problem at all. Definitely not getting a lawsuit.
Jared likes the idea.
I do. I like that idea.
Sorry. I'm just, it's just me. And it'd wake you up too. I mean, it really solved the problem of, hey, those late nights that you're really tired. I mean, you get that little jolt to keep you awake too.
I did see a little question that I just wanted to, that question.
All right, I read your mind.
Yes, the answer is yes. We do have a plan to put that in place later this year. So we're working on trying to get those resources together to implement that. So we do have a couple units that are out right now with a couple of our testers that are trying to help us figure out exactly what that layout is going to look like because we are only working with 15 keys on our pad. So we need to figure out what can go and what needs to be adjusted and where we're going to put the mobile option. So that's something that we're excited to get into. Yes.
Ah, very cool. Very cool. And I see Jared is moving his screen about.
Semi figured this out. Yeah.
Okay.
So if
I can make you full screen here.
Okay.
So let me.
All right. Yeah. We'll just go through this real quick.
Guest 3. Here we go. And you are number 1, 2, 3. Yep. There we go. Hey, there you go.
All right. So shared a little bit here. Okay. So this right here is the acquisition that I just did while we were on here. And this is the kind of overall structure that it gives you. So you'll have your acquisition that you come in here. You've got your EO1 with your hash at the end of that you've always just got. And then within results here, you can come in, you'll have reporting. So you'll have your raw text reports, for example, like your file system listings, everything else. And then, you've got your HTML report if you need to pull that up, or, share that with somebody.
Jared, I'm gonna
And then
mess
you'll
with
have your
screen
partition.
here.
So it does, right now it is breaking everything out by the partition that it finds. And then within there you'll have, so this particular file or drive didn't have a lot of stuff on it. It basically just had some photos and documents that had all been, basically deleted. So it was something that I was testing out. So then you'll have your deleted photos and deleted documents that show up in there. So I always like showing off my truck. So
hang on, I turned the
was
zoom
able to
off right when you did it. There you go. I could not. I got old eyes and I have no idea where my glasses are at, and I couldn't see the output files very well. That is awesome.
Yeah. So this is some of the deleted files that it recovered. This was just a test drive. And then, for example, this drive here was done yesterday. And this provides a little bit more results examples. So this one, we ran the virus scan. So within here, you'll have your virus scan results report. You'll have, well, the reporting will basically be the same, but obviously, a little bit different. And then this only had one partition. And then within here, you have like your browser history, your documents, deleted documents. In this case, it was a Windows system, so it'll pull out those event logs as well as the registry. And then if there are Linux files, so just for example, just with this as an example, if there are Linux files or there are Mac files, just demonstrating here for example purposes, then you'll see these directories show up, and then those files will be placed in there. And so right now it's not doing any additional parsing for the Linux or Mac files. It's just basically providing those to you so that if you do need to use another tool, you can, but we will be expanding and adding automated parsing to that because we need to, because that's part of what we do. And as well, you do get basically your drive info with like serial numbers, partition identifiers, all that stuff.
Yeah, okay. That's very cool. I'm going to bring all three of us back here. Why does it keep making my window larger? I don't understand. It just says, yeah, you should do that.
Technology is difficult.
I keep unlocking it. That's really the issue. There we go.
Yeah. And one of the other things that I wanted to bring point is, so we do a proof of concept right now. So it will, like if you do have it on a network, it will automatically create an FTP server based on the destination drive that you connect to it. So as it's processing, if you are connected via FTP, and I think this is something that we'll be enabling later, but we want to build an interface around it. But you can actually see the results in real time. So the scenario that this was built for is, let's say you've got your analysts, your linguists, your targeters, or your interrogators in their one room, their cell room or whatever, and then next door you've got your forensic examiners and your technical professionals. Let's say the drives come in, that gets handed off to the techs. They spend a day going through documenting everything, and they spend a day going through and just imaging everything, and then they have to go and start analyzing it, and then they have to transfer that over to make it available to the linguists and the targeters and the interrogators. And it could be 2 or 3 days before those interrogators even get a chance to start looking through the data that's come in. And if you've got a detainee, for example, and of course it depends on, where you're at and what your operating constraints are. But I know a lot of times it was just, a week or maybe 2 weeks that you could hold somebody without further evidence to process them. And so if you lose, 3 days before you even get to start looking at the information, that's a lot of time. So with this, as soon as you start the acquisition, if you're connected over a network, or it will be enabled, then those targeters and those analysts will start seeing that information come in basically day 1 or day 2 as it's being acquired. And you don't have to wait for the analysis on the technical side to get done. You don't have to wait for that data to get transferred over. You basically have immediate in real time access to it that you can start making decisions with.
Yep, absolutely. Very cool. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep up with chat, and these guys are talking so fast. I don't know how they're keeping track of them. Amy's like completely amused by it.
I am. I'm just like looking over at them, giggling to myself.
But the best advice that you'll probably ever get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sam
Yep.
is very right in that fact.
Very
Sam,
true.
we're trying. We are trying.
Well, very cool. Man, I cannot believe we've gone over the hour, guys. I'm sorry I kept you past. And I don't mind. I'm just sitting here yapping. It's Friday. I really don't want to go back to work, but obviously no one in chat wants to either because they're all chatting. Oh, wait, we got a good question that just came in from Ron here. Can it pull from Mac, right? So can you? Will it image like if you pull a dead box? It'll do that just fine?
Yeah, so it will image it. Right now, it can parse out HFS systems, file systems. APFS is something that we will be adding. It doesn't do that right now, but it will be. So if it's an HFS file system, then yes, it will go through and it'll identify all the files that it needs to parse out and extract those. APFS is something that we'll be adding here, hopefully in the next couple of months, if not weeks. It's definitely a big priority for us.
Yeah, as far as the live acquisitions go for Mac systems, though, we are trying to build that in. So, trying to build in live acquisition in general across.
Yep. It's just, Tom was just exactly what the point you were
Yeah.
talking on. Yep, for sure. I think everybody, we talked about like a little bit of alcohol or unknown level of alcohol we may be experiencing today. And of course, there's the old
Sure.
floppy.
You have an
If you can
adapter? Sure.
Yeah, if you can get that 8-inch floppy through USB, all for it. I did an old compact flash card, like it was. I think it was in. I don't even think it was in gigabyte. I think it was in megabytes. It was that old, but yeah, the thing worked just fine. Whatever it was formatted in, I don't remember, but the thing was ancient. I'd love to do one of those old school zip disks too. Man, I remember it was like 100 gigabytes. Maybe it was 100 megabytes. I don't even know anymore.
Probably megabytes. I mean,
Probably was megabytes.
I started off when it was criminy. The very first computer I had was oh gosh, what was it? I still it was Atari's answer to like the TRS-80, not the computer. I can't remember the name of it now. I actually have one still in the other room, and it with a cassette tape deck. That you put the tape deck in, and it was magnetic tape, would save your games and do the data from it. So I know very well. Sam and Ron know what I'm talking about. They're not. Yeah, the 5200. It's exactly the one I had. Sam. Yep, you're spot on. I actually have it in the other room. I bought one off eBay, just to have it and keep it. Yeah, Atari 800. I have to go look and see now. I won't right now, but maybe I'll post it in the comments under this as we get going through here. But for sure,
it was 100 megabytes was the original.
Oh, nice
zip disk.
Nice.
Yeah, I remember that
zip
just
disk.
being like,
I think he's talking about the old, the old black.
They're like bigger, little, not quite as big as the 5.5-inch floppies, but bigger than the 3-inch floppies.
Yeah,
and thicker. Yeah, I just remember being like 100 megabytes. That's so much.
Yeah, it was like, we're never going to run out of space. Never.
Yeah.
And it just happens. Well, hey, you guys, again, I don't want to keep you too long. And also, Megan's reminding me in the sidebar over here that I actually have an interview at 3:30 I have to do. I'm not applying somewhere else as we're trying to hire people, and it's chaotic trying to do this. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Anybody have any last-minute questions for them? I don't know if you guys have access to the YouTube chat, you can pop your, I don't know if you want to pop emails in there or a way to get a hold of you into that. If you put it in the interview chat too, I can copy it over, I think, and drop in there. But keep in mind, if you're dropping we're on YouTube right now. So, maybe non-forensic people. I know, Amy, you're in the hub. You're in Cyber Social Hub.
Yes,
Jared,
am.
I think you are. Are you in Cyber Social Hub? I'm not sure if you are.
I have an account that
Okay.
got set up, but I need to get to actually like working with it.
Okay. Yeah. And I know you can reach them both in there, and that's nice and safe in there. I just hate to put out your email over YouTube for the world to see. Jared, you might get some interesting messages. Get some drunk dials from Sam and Ron over here, or some emails that are. All right, guys. Let me scan through these here real quick and make sure there's nothing else. Everybody's saying, hey, thanks. And yeah, we do really appreciate it, you guys, for taking the time out and sharing Atrio with us. And pop it up one more time there, Jared, so everybody can take a look at what it looks like, so they don't forget. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
and you guys,
there you go.
you guys got a pretty big lineup for shows this year too, right? Are you gonna be at Techno this year in Myrtle Beach?
Yes. We are excited about Techno for sure. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Love me some Techno as well. So we'll see you guys down there, and maybe we're actually doing some fun events from down there too. So maybe we can drag you guys into that as well.
Yeah,
and hopefully by Techno we'll have some additional products to debut.
Oh, is that a sneak peek? Are you letting something?
Stay tuned.
I see Amy's face on. All right. So now you got me curious, and we're gonna start rumors online now.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna incorporate a Big Mac button and fries with your data.
Right.
Yeah,
on.
I wonder if there's a way we could repurpose the heat that comes off of it to like cook. I don't know,
like an air fryer.
Yeah.
Or just make it like a special.
Buy Atrio and get an air fryer attachment.
Or just make a special one little button, make it the DoorDash button, and you just push it, and it brings, like, if you're working on the case all night, and it automatically goes out the DoorDash, brings your food. I'm all for it.
Yeah. We've had some people ask if we can make it look like a game console. So like when it boots up, I suppose, I don't know if you're going through customs or whatever, it turns on like a game console, have whack-a-mole built into it or something.
That's right. Some old 16-bit stuff happening. You can play the old 16-bit music. I know Megan has a large collection of 16-bit video game music, so hey, she's happy to supply some for you too. That'd be cool. Hey, Brett says he's looking forward to seeing you guys at Myrtle as well. So, oops, man, this is a little harder to see down here. There we go.
Yeah, we are excited to be back, so it's good. Second year there, so it'll be good.
Yeah,
as a vendor. I mean, we've attended multiple years as a regular registered person, so yeah, it'll be good.
All right, very cool. Oh, it's 8-bit music. I'm sorry, I was too advanced on the 16, so everyone's correcting me in chat as it goes through now. I'm sorry. All right, Amy, Jared, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate your time, and really looking forward to seeing where the product goes. Now, I want to hold you to it because we're live in front of everyone, and it's harder to say no to me when you are. I want you guys to come back on at least a couple more times and talk about as the product progresses, so everyone can see what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And now that it's recorded and it's live, you have to hold us to it. So.
Yeah, exactly. So now it's too late. It's already out there. The world has now seen it. So, all right, guys.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, and we'll chat later, guys. Everyone, thank you also for participating in chat. Loved it, and hopefully we'll see you guys at the next one. See you.